Good morning. My team at the desk for the next hour. Mina Smallman, a campaigner for women's safety after her two daughters were killed 4 years ago. John Caudwell, billionaire businessman and philanthropist, and journalist, Times columnist Fraser Nelson. Welcome to all of you. Let's start, as we always do, with what's making the news. There's also, John, we've seen this week, massive increase in shoplifting, increase in knife crime and robbery. You founded and ran a huge retailer. Looking at things, do you think it's really changed for people trying to do business? Is crime now a factor on the high street?
I think crime's always been a massive factor. It's a massive factor in terms of the way London is understood abroad. I regularly meet very wealthy people who are concerned about London crime. It's not significantly worse than a lot of major cities, but we ought to do more. And the problem and the challenge is huge. But I've done sort of a little bit on this because I founded Caudwell Youth, which we put a one-on-one mentor with young people at risk that come out of the care system. And often those people that come out of the care system have had such a bad existence, such a bad experience in life, and such bad influence from other people that they go down a pathway of sexual abuse, of criminality, of drug abuse. And we have to stop that at the core. And one of the problems is that the government never, ever invest at the right end of things. We build the prisons, but let's stop the young people getting into prison.
Okay.
Let's stop the crime.
We heard before the election, John, and you were with us before the election, and you did back Labour this time, but we heard a lot of, we're ready to hit the ground running, we've done all the work. And as Fraser says, actually, there is a lot of, well, we're going to have a review of this and a consultation of that, and we're going to take a bit of a look. What's your take on where they've got to? And I'm thinking, of course, specifically on the economy. That's what you spend most of your time thinking and worrying about.
Are we talking about law and order, or do you want my overview of Labour?
I think how they're getting on generally, because I know that you've had lots of contacts with the government, but this sort of review-itis or consultation-itis...
60 reviews. Well, this is an all-day review you're asking me to do, so let me try and sum it up. I think regarding the law and order issue, all governments are massively behind the drag curve, always. They're incarcerating people when you need to stop it. And I don't want to be plugging Caudwell Youth, but I'm going to anyway, because it's a charity I founded 2 years ago. And the purpose of that is to put a one-on-one mentor with young people at risk to stop criminality, to stop drug abuse, to stop sexual abuse. And the success that we're having is amazing. Government need to think about that model. It costs me about £5,000 per person per year, and the reduction is about 70 or 80%. And the problem is with the social services, they cannot afford the amount of people they need. The problem is huge. I think it's about 1 million young people out there that need one-on-one mentorship. But there's a second point that's very important. They are all suspicious of government bodies, of social welfare and so on. When we put a mentor on, it's an ordinary person off the street who we've trained, and that mentor builds a relationship and can get inside the head of that young person way better than any official body.
John, let's then turn to the economy, because that's your particular expertise as well as your charity work that you're doing now. You have been supportive of Labour, but that was before the budget, the changes on national insurance and inheritance tax. How do you rate the Chancellor so far? We heard from Rachel Reeves last week. She did a big set piece on Heathrow this week. How do you think it's going?
I think it's a really mixed bag, but I think the budget was optically a fiasco. Not a fiasco from what they did in terms of, is it really damaging? It's more of how people feel about it. And I think they could have been so much smarter. The NI was a good way of raising 25 billion, but it's hurt disproportionately some businesses really badly. And if you look at those businesses that hurts badly, they've also put minimum wage up. Now, I don't disagree with minimum wage going up, but then you do NI on those businesses that are suffering most from minimum wage, and it's a fiasco. There were so many cleverer ways that they could have done things. And the non-dom rules, all of it was not very smart, and they could have done a lot better.
Sure. And John, just lastly to you, on the tariff situation, is UK business worried about being caught up in the crossfire of some kind of trade war between the huge blocs, EU, China, US?
Just before I answer that, I need to give a balanced viewpoint on Labour because you cut me off before I was able to finish.
Forgive me.
No, not a criticism, but there's a lot of things that they're doing that is good. They're not optically visual at the moment. But if you use one very important statistic, the 4,700 chief executives from all over the world were voting on which country was the most investable. US was 30%. I don't know whether that was before Trump or after, but US was 30%. UK was second in the world for the first time ever. So the reality is much different than the optics. And furthermore, a lot of Americans are looking to relocate now into the UK.
And John, though, you've been talking to the government, I know, behind the scenes. I think I can give that away without giving you... You're very welcome to share your confidences. But do you think that's fair, from what you know, to say that they don't really know what they're about?
On Keir Starmer. I mean, the jury's out. But we are going to be the fastest growing economy next year by every forecast made, between 1.5 and 1.9%. And why would we want to be part of the EU and give our rights away when a country like Hungary can hold up support for Ukraine, a fully democratic country? So I can't answer about Keir, but the jury's out. Let's see what happens. But things in some ways are definitely going in the right direction.